In the world's greatest country, in its most pivotal state, lies Pennsylvania's Lehigh Valley, an economic hub that's as vibrant as it is ideologically eclectic. Its just over 700,000 residents will play a critical role in deciding the course of American leadership and thereby the world. Who are the thinkers, workers, and leaders that will decide our collective fate? Join me, Moshe Kurtz, as I walk through the valley and find out. All right, my friends, thank you for joining me today as I walk through the valley with Judith A. Harris, Esquire, co-chair of the Estate Trust and Tax Law Practice Group at Norris McLaughlin. Now, I had the chance before we met each other here today to do the recording to actually realize that I wasn't the first one apparently to have the idea to sit down with you and do an interview. And I'm not surprised about that either. PBS apparently beat me to it. And when I was watching what PBS did when they did a segment honoring your commitment to the community and your broader initiatives, one of the people they interviewed described you as compassionate, curious, connected, and cool. I'm curious, what do you think, if I could put you on the spot, what made them choose those four particular words?
A love of alliteration.
Ooh, that's a good response. Okay, I won't ask you to your own horn. That was a good response. Now, okay, let's back up for a moment because it's possible not all of our listeners, Judy, have had the privilege of being able to interact with you. But the truth of the matter is that on the show, as I walk through the valley, it's not just about sitting down with elected officials and people in the political sphere. It's really about also documenting those who are what we call in the private sector, who are just in their private lives doing important community work. And we'll talk about your community involvement in a moment, but I would love if we could actually take a step back a number of years to your childhood, which I understand you to be a Lehigh Valley native. Is that correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So can you tell me a little bit about what it was like to grow up here in the Lehigh Valley? What was your family like? And how has the Lehigh Valley developed and has it changed over the course of your lifetime here?
What an interesting question. Thank you. Yes, of course, as with any hometown, any city, things have changed here. It was a smaller, less developed area. The cities were very distinct. We thought in terms of Allentown, Bethlehem, Easton. It was a big deal to go to Bethlehem or Easton because we didn't speak in terms of the Lehigh Valley. They were little communities.
So there were three distinct cities, and it was you had to really think about it before you traveled from one place to the other. Was there a Route 22 that connected things back then?
Certainly, absolutely.
Okay, but even today, people still say, "Oh my gosh, I have to go on Route 22. I'm from New York, and we have the Cross Bronx, and it's got nothing on it over here. I have to say, I think we're a little bit soft, but that's just my take."
I happen to know a lot about, I had family. I'm of half Pennsylvania Dutch extraction from Switzerland and the Black Forest in France. My grandfather, my dad's father, was a Greek immigrant who came with three of his teenage brothers before World War I, and he actually fought for the U.S.
Wow.
For World War I. And their parents were at home with the six other children on the island of Evia. And my father's mother was an emigre with her mother and father from Ukraine. Her father came here first to get a job with Bethlehem Steel, and once he was settled, he sent for his family. And Grandma was 7, and she came with her mother and her brother on a ship, and they made their lives here. So my dad spent about half of his childhood in Bethlehem went to Moravian University, then college. And so I was a little more acquainted with Bethlehem than maybe other Allentonians way back then because of, and the Greek church was in Bethlehem. And, but there's so much variety and things have grown. The suburbs have blossomed. My husband's from Brooklyn originally.
Really? Your husband, Jack?
Yes, from Brooklyn.
So he's from Brooklyn originally, and I know this podcast is about you, but he also has a little bit of an interesting background and career as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, fascinating. If I may, Jack and his sister are the only children of their parents, each of whom was a Holocaust survivor, spent 5 years in the camps, lost everybody in their respective families, everybody. And they happened to meet his parents in a liberation camp briefly. And his mother went to live in Paris with a very distant relative and became a seamstress. And Jack's father really had nobody except maybe somebody in Denmark, and he had no desire to go there. And he thought, wow, I met this really wonderful young woman. Maybe I should go to Paris and find her.
Sounds very romantic.
And he did, and courted her, and they had a nice life in Paris. And Jack's sister Madeline was born there. And then the Cold War developed, and Jack's father said, I was caught in Europe twice for World Wars, 1 and 2. Shame on me if I'm caught in Europe for World War III.
Oh, wow.
And against his wife's, she really didn't. She loved, Paris was very friendly to survivors and a lovely city, and they had made their life there. And but they came to the U.S. because they were afraid of the escalation of a Third World War.
Wow. And what does Jack do professionally?
Jack is a urologic surgeon, a urologist, and a physician and a surgeon at Temple University Hospital and Medical School. He just completed 25 years as chair of urology at Temple. He's still an active surgeon and physician there, but he left Brooklyn, he left New York, and did a fellowship at Sloan Kettering, left New York, left Brooklyn to become the chair in Philadelphia.
Remarkable. So you just made a good pitch for him being a future guest on the podcast. But so what I'd like to understand is just, other than the fact that going from Allentown to Bethlehem and Easton, at least from my perception, is not so difficult to do these days, has anything else really shifted from your childhood here in the area, what things were like versus what it's like now in contemporary 2026, from what you can tell?
Yes, we're more of a hub. The farmland's been developed, the suburbs have blossomed. More, I would say, more diversity, culturally, racially. The area's grown, and we have large businesses employing a lot of people here that were never here before, that certainly weren't started here.
What kind of businesses are you seeing?
Well, I'm thinking like the B. Brauns, the Victaulics. Our healthcare systems have grown exponentially.
St. Luke's, Lehigh Valley Health, and some others.
And many of us are very acquainted with the story of how, I was born at Allentown Hospital at 17th Street. That was it. That was, there was no Lehigh Valley Health Network.
Wow.
And Forrest Moyer was the pediatrician who had a lot to do with building the pediatrics program. So, things have become more sophisticated and more diverse, and, the world's a different place. I like to think, and, I'm a lover of history, wherever in the world it happens. And I'm just hopeful that succeeding generations will know and appreciate all that's gone on here. The fact that the Liberty Bell was hidden in Zion Lutheran Church up the street, so the British couldn't make munitions out of it.
And when we say up the street, just so our listeners know, we're sitting in downtown Allentown, right in the city center. So that's Allentonian history right there.
Right. And just anecdotally, by marriage, I'm related through the Pennsylvania Dutch side, the Treichler side, Treichler meaning maker of cowbells from Switzerland, related to the Mickleys, one of the families who made possible the transport of the Liberty Bell from Philadelphia here so it could be hidden. The Mickley and the Leeser family.
So you're not just an appreciator of history. Your heritage has been very much part of the history of this area.
And many people can say that here.
Remarkable. I certainly can. I'm only here for under a year at this point, but I try not to tell people that.
We're glad you're here.
Thank you so much. So I want to shift now. Let's talk a little bit about your day profession. About what you do here at the law firm. And I understand that you have a specialty in estate planning, which is a good reminder to me that I probably should work on putting a will together. So I'm going to ask a question that's a little bit selfish, but I imagine some of our listeners would like to know this as well. I'm not looking for an entire course on estate planning, but if there's one thing that people like me, millennials or others who maybe don't have all of their affairs in order should know and should be doing today, what would it be?
Okay, that's a very good question, and thank you for having asked it. A lot of times I refer to estate planning as high-level housekeeping. Is your house in order? And people around the valley have heard me give this talk. Your house, your physical house might be in order. Is your estate planning house in order? And I would say the core documents I think everybody should have are a will, a financial and legal power of attorney. That is to say, if you're still alive, but for some reason you are not able to handle or need somebody else to handle a financial or legal matter for you because of being away, out of the country, temporarily, or God forbid, permanently incapacitated. So a will, a financial power and legal power of attorney, and then a medical power of attorney combined with a living will. That is to say, whom do you want to make either routine or end-of-life medical decisions for you?
Right. So these institutions, medical institutions, legal institutions, they wouldn't just assume it would be my spouse or children who would automatically be, beneficiaries and also the ones making those decisions if I don't instruct them?
Excellent question. And as any good lawyer would answer, the answer is, it depends. And
I do that as a rabbi also when asking questions.
So glad to
We're very legalistic in that way.
Glad to hear that. In the case of a will, and Pennsylvania is the state law we care about here. Our firm, has offices in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and New York. I co-chair the Estate Trust and Tax Group for the whole firm, and I'm the chair in Pennsylvania of the Estate Trust and Tax Group. So different state laws can apply. But in every state in the United States, there are rules that tell you if you die without a will, how the assets are to be distributed. That is, if they're what we call probate assets, assets that don't have a beneficiary already attached or aren't jointly held with somebody or are not already in a trust. So every state has intestacy laws like that.
Right.
But why leave it up for grabs? Why not write your own will?
Right. We worked so hard to build wealth to pass it along to our loved ones afterwards. And especially, God forbid, if we're incapacitated, we want those people making the decisions, not someone who doesn't really care for our welfare to the same degree, I would say.
Right.
So I'm very curious because I imagine, even though estate law has probably been around for a while, I imagine there's new kinds of realities that you have to reckon with. And I'm actually really curious. I'm not a crypto bro. I'm not invested in crypto. I'm not invested in NFTs. But I understand that people nowadays can acquire digital assets. And I'm curious, how has that kind of change the equation of estate planning and the legal profession that you're involved in?
Okay. Excellent question. Thank you for having asked it. I can think of two things. The first thing I do before I meet with a client is ask him or her or them to complete a questionnaire. And it asks for very important personal information, all of which is kept confidential. And page 8 asks for the client or clients to list their assets. Not every single one, but by category, estimated value, whether there are beneficiaries attached, as we must with an IRA, 401k, life insurance policy, we have so many different kinds of assets today that we didn't used to have. So including digital assets. So it's more important than ever that your estate planning attorney understand what kinds of assets you have so they can be dealt with appropriately in a will or other estate plan.
So what does that even look like? I mean, again, I'm kind of asking this from a complete place of ignorance because I'm not invested in cryptocurrency, but what does it even look like to bequeath my crypto coins, my Bitcoins, or whatever I'm using, Dogecoins, all sorts of things out there? What does it actually look like bequeathing that to someone? It's not even a physical, tangible asset.
Okay. Most of my clients don't bequeath, and I encourage them not to bequeath separate accounts to separate people because those can change. And we need to plan the estate holistically. We have an inheritance tax in Pennsylvania. If the client's very wealthy, we might have a federal estate tax. And so I like to plan so that I don't like to kind of single out certain financial assets. Real estate might be different. A family business is certainly different. But I want to make sure we have enough assets to pay taxes and expenses too. So it's rare that I would actually include a bequest of Bitcoin. I could cite an account number. That's something that can be done.
Does that work with a Netflix account also? Has that ever?
Well, you've raised a very interesting point, if I may switch to the power of attorney document.
Oh, please.
Because for years, I'll use Facebook as an example because it's a very global example. I had, if we're good estate planners, we made sure we upgraded our documents, our powers of attorney and wills and trusts in the last several years because certain companies were not recognizing the authority of an executor under a will, trustee under trust, agent under power of attorney to take action with regard to certain assets.
Right.
And it was because state law needed to be updated to do that because guess what? 100 years ago, we didn't have digital assets.
So when somebody passes away and they have a social media account, there needs to be documentation to tell us who can take over that account?
Well, almost. For instance, when my father passed away, I wanted to close his Facebook account.
Yeah.
And I contacted Facebook and they said, I said, I'm the executor of the estate. They said, I'm sorry, he didn't list you as a legacy contact, so we can't do that. It's because state laws needed to be upgraded.
Wow.
And I really thank our legislators in Pennsylvania for having, and we were one of the later states to do it, but it's exactly because of this. The legislature wanted to make sure the right wording was in there, the right provisions to encompass every possible digital asset situation. Right. So I've written articles on it so that finally, I mean, as of a few years ago, Pennsylvania and most of the other states in the United States have laws that now basically say, hey, you digital assets providers, you need to respect the authority of an executor, an agent, or a trustee.
Were there any particular legislators you had to work with to get this passed?
I didn't. I take no credit, Rabbi. I really take no credit for this. Many of us were just very eager for this to pass. So it would relieve our clients of
it's really important because unfortunately, as time goes on, more people who hold... one of my vices is that I spend too much time on social media. I try to justify saying that it's good marketing for the synagogue, but it's just, I'm just kind of giving into my vices. So, but I notice as my Facebook friends, some of them unfortunately pass away. It's a little bit like some of them, the account gets changed to like a legacy format. You could see they passed away. Some of them are still on there and it's a very disturbing thing. There are people who kind of just by default type happy birthday every time someone's birthday comes up. And I'm like, that person died, right? So it's pretty important, I think, to close this down. It's very disturbing. So I'm glad you guys have been working on that.
I'm proud that our laws have been upgraded.
Yeah. Okay. So there's one other thing just on your bio that caught my attention, which is I know you grew up in the Lehigh Valley and you're still here in the Lehigh Valley, but apparently you studied in Moscow for a little bit at the Pushkin Institute.
Yes.
What kind of brought you to Moscow and what era was this in? Like, what were the things like at that time?
Well, I was a Russian minor in college, English literature major. Thought I might be pre-med, so I took all the sciences. And,
Those were fun.
It was fun. Russian minor, and we had an excellent Russian department, Russian language at Bryn Mawr and at Haverford, and my grandmother was Russian. So I was interested in learning the language, and I'm so glad I did, and had an opportunity to join a lot of my classmates and other folks from around the country at Pushkin Language Institute, which is fairly well known among Russian speakers in the State Department and whatnot.
The relations between the United States and Russia have been fraught for a long. I mean, it's had its ups and downs. We're probably more in a down now, but I don't want to be the judge of that. What was it like being an American studying in Russia at the time?
Well, it was the Soviet Union. It was 1982.
Right.
And Brezhnev.
I didn't even realize you could go to the Soviet Union as an American student.
With a very, specific visa in a certain way where they knew exactly where you were and with whom you were. It was one of the ways you could go to the Soviet
Union. Did the KGB ever interact with you, or did you know if they were interacting with you?
Well, I know that a lot of my classmates went into Foreign Service and the State Department and probably other things like CIA. I will tell you that, and there were students from all over the world who were learning Russian. Most of them were from communist countries who were encouraged to go back and teach Russian to the people in their countries.
Oh, wow.
One day I was walking down the 7th floor hallway where my dorm room was with my suite mates, and I noticed that this door at the end of the hall, which was always closed, was open. And this was 1982. And I happened to see floor to ceiling, wall to wall, reel to reel tape recorders and a chair. And we were told, expect that you're being
watched
and recorded. And,
But it was a theoretical to you.
Yeah, well, we all read Hedrick Smith's The Russians, so we knew about that.
And you realized they actually were videoing every single moment that you were there.
Well, I don't know. Video was, they had reel-to-reel tapes, so it was probably just audio. But it was a very different, a very closed system.
Wow.
And a very different world. I have not been back since '82. Part of that was Chernobyl and just health concerns.
Of course.
It was a very interesting experience. And
I imagine traveling to Russia today is not so simple either.
No.
I haven't tried it, but I'm sure it's not the easiest thing. Okay, so something I'm actually really excited to get to is that beyond your day job, or it's probably not just a day job, it's probably a night job. I know lawyers work till like 2 a.m. in the morning, then get up at 3 a.m. So in addition to that, you're a past president of the Board of Trustees for the Pennsylvania Shakespeare Festival, and also a former officer of the Allentown Symphony Association. And, you're very much into the classical music and the fine arts. And here I feel like such a simpleton because I listen to classic rock music. I'm more of like Metallica and Johnny Cash. And I thought when I call it classic rock, I thought classic rock's the classics. Apparently there are classics that came before the 60s and 70s. So now I feel young again in respect to my music. I went on Spotify and they said, your music listening age is 67. And I said, oh, wow, I didn't realize that I have such fine, vintage tastes. But I never really, I tried hard. I turn on Mozart every now and then and Tchaikovsky, and I really try to get into it. But maybe there's something I'm missing. I'm curious, what would your pitch be in terms of listening to the symphonies and the orchestras and the Shakespeare festivals? What would your pitch be to people like me who maybe aren't yet appreciating it for what it truly is?
Fair question. We live in a very, very culturally rich Lehigh Valley. There are so many offerings. It's one of the things I love best about living here. And the offerings were great when I was little, but they're even more wonderful now, thanks to so many people who have moved here, who've been drawn here because of all the things that are available and all the things they can do. So I guess my response would be with regard to the Allentown Symphony, to the Shakespeare Festival, and other wonderful performing arts organizations. Don't assume that the symphony produces only classical orchestral music. I am a proud sponsor of the Simon Alliance at the end of this month. Simon Mulligan and two other really famous jazz musicians are going to be performing in the Rodale Room upstairs, kind of a cabaret. We have tribute concerts, Elton John.
Oh, really?
We had,
You're talking my language now.
No. We have everything. We've often those are the Pops concerts. We had a great one this summer. We have several Pops concerts a year that are often rock based.
Well, I know that they're in Easton. I saw there's a Lord of the Rings live concert taking place.
I read about that.
So I'm not sure. Does like a Lord of the Rings? I think Howard Shore maybe was the conductor. Okay. Does that count as classical, or is that just pop music?
It's everything in between. And I just want you to know, and similarly with the Shakespeare Festival, don't assume it's just Shakespeare. We have a lot of wonderful modern musicals and other modern dramatic works planned for the summer.
Well, I'm a big Les Mis fan. So
boy, did we hit Les Mis out of the ballpark.
Oh, you guys had Les Mis?
Oh, it was incredible.
Oh man, I wish I could have been there. Are they coming back at any point?
I don't know. Dennis Razzie really just wowed us all. It was several years ago.
Really, it's truly a religious experience. I mean, I know it's more Christian, but I mean, the message is just about mercy and second chances and repentance and law versus mercy. I mean, those kind of themes, I mean, I think resonate for anyone. I mean, even in theory for someone who's not religious, but certainly I love the music of Les Miserables. I hope they bring that back.
It was a huge production, as you can imagine, and I still follow and am in touch with some of the actors who performed with PA Shakespeare, because they're on Broadway. They're Broadway. We're an Actors Equity organization, so it's not unusual that the people come here to act at PA Shakespeare. We see them on Broadway and other places.
Oh, that's really amazing. So we got some top-notch talent over here.
There's so much to do in the Valley.
Wow, that is amazing. I'm actually also curious because as a rabbi, when I see something of a religious nature, that all of a sudden grabs my attention. One of the many things, I mean, we're only scratching the surface of your different community involvements here, but something that caught my attention was that you are a former board member and executive committee member of the Board of Pensions of the Presbyterian Church for the United States in general, not just one single church building. So I'm curious, trends in religion. Now, I know you're not a sociologist by training, but just anecdotally, again, and kind of going back to your childhood here and to what you're seeing now in 2026, how has the prominence, or maybe lack thereof, of religion, whether it be Christianity, whether it be other religions in the Valley, shifted over time?
Some people used to refer to Allentown as a city of churches. And when I look out my window from the 6th floor here in the office, I can see many, many steeples and many sites where there used to be churches. We're blessed with all kinds of religious, and spiritual organizations that are thriving. I'd be lying if I said I haven't seen trends. I mean, I saw them when I was involved with the Board of Pensions of the Presbyterian Church. There are statistics about, different faith organizations nationally losing 2% of their population a year. The world is changing. I'm hoping that's a trend that will stop soon and reverse, because to me, it's so having a belief system is so important. Certainly to me, I feel blessed, and I, grew up with
amen to that.
maybe 5 different religions in my life, but grew up in the Presbyterian Church. But nothing's more exciting to me than worshiping at a friend's or another family member's place of worship to learn. It's a broadening learning experience. So I'm hoping the trends I've been reading and hearing about, I'm hoping they can turn the corner and be reversed in some way.
Hey, from your mouth to God's ears.
Mm-hmm.
So as we are in our home stretch over here, as I said, you've done so much work here in the Valley. We've only scratched the surface of it. But looking back at your career and, God willing, you should have many more years of doing good work in our community. But what are you hoping that your legacy will be?
Well, just having done my part in this wonderful, special community in which I live, that nobody could say I stagnated. I'm in a service profession I love helping people solve their problems in productive ways. It brings me daily joy. I love my involvement with various organizations. I meet the most wonderful people. Meet the most wonderful people out in the community who are working hard to make it a better place. And I'm also blessed with wonderful family, including, my husband and a daughter he should be so proud of, and I am, and our grandchildren and son-in-law. So I just feel blessed, and I feel like I'm blessed and very grateful to be a citizen in this community.
Thank you so much, Judith A. Harris, for joining me as I walk through the Valley. Very much appreciate your time.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining me as I walk through the Valley. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to rate and subscribe to our show. If you have questions or would like to book a live recording or have a speaking request, please email rabbi@sonsofisrael.net. This is Moshe Kurtz. I look forward to having you join me next time as I walk through the Valley.